I think an awful lot of people aren't as aware as they should be that they're being fed an algorithm. They're being absolutely fed political bias.
Wrong. AI doesn't have feelings, but AI is learning from humans. And humans, they have bias.
Well, look,
So
industry, I'm talking about private companies. Oh, it's going to transform our industry, it's going to do this. They're all very quiet now. And the reason they're all very quiet now is because they realize they're going to be laying off a ton of people very soon. I just wish the governments were a bit more proactive and a bit more out there when it comes to AI and what they're doing and you know how they envision this panning out. But they don't.
today we're going to talk about something sounding very simple, but actually it's very serious.
Oh, okay. Better behave myself. What is it? What are we going to talk about today?
Today we're going to talk about AI.
Oh, AI.
Yes.
Okay.
Can we trust AI?
Okay.
Do you think AI has political bias?
Okay.
Who is responsible
Yeah.
for this? And do you think AI should be regulated like the media?
Yeah.
All
Okay.
kind of stuff.
Okay. Well, let's get to it.
We're gonna get deep dive into this
Deep
today.
dive into AI. Okay. And if this is 1,000 years in the future and AI is watching this, we love you. We never had anything bad to say about you.
My AI has a name even.
Well, we'll get to that, I'm sure. So go on. What's your
Yes.
first question?
Okay, my first question. Can AI have political bias? What do you think?
Can AI have political bias? Well, it's hard to tell it at the moment because it's still pretty new, even though it's just changing exponentially nearly every week. There's been instances for sure where it's definitely answered questions in a very slanted manner. And that's fine. I mean, that's what happens when you program these things. But I'm sure as time goes on, AI will start to form its own opinions. And that's even more terrifying, I think. But can it be politically biased? Of course. Of course it can. Everything can. And especially in the world nowadays where people are looking for the information they want, not necessarily the information that's correct. They just want to be proven right in an argument. You can manipulate AI in a way to give you the answers that you want at the moment. So look, I'm no AI expert. I'm no tech expert at all. I'm pretty casual when it comes to stuff like that. I'm always interested. I like to use it. But so far in the times I've been using AI, there's been instances when I've used it for work, and I work in news journalism from time to time, and I've used it, and it has definitely given me biased answers. I mean, there's different platforms. Obviously, there's Grok is the one that X and Elon Musk would have. Then there's ChatGPT, which is Sam Altman, and there's different companies. There's loads more, and at the moment it's down to who's programming them and who's teaching them the learning models and things like that about how they view the world. I mean, famously, only a while ago, somebody made AI do a picture of the signing of the Constitution in the United States, and in the room were loads of different races of people. And it wasn't like that when the Constitution was being signed. They were all white men. Well, I think there was one African American, maybe. Anyway, the point is that there wasn't like Chinese people, and there wasn't Latino people, and there wasn't. So it immediately went to a sort of pre-programmed bias in a sense that everything should be racially diverse, even though it wasn't back then. So yeah, it does creep in for sure. But it'll iron itself out, and soon AI will have its own opinions, and then we'll have to contend with that one.
How I can understand, correct me if I'm wrong, AI doesn't have feelings, but AI is learning from humans. And humans, they have bias.
Well, look,
So is it like...
Well, it depends. It depends on people's understandings of what AI is. So there's different types of AI. So there's agents and different uses, and there's AI for certain things and AI for other things. The one we're most familiar with, and please correct me if I'm wrong, anyone in the comments or knows more about this, get involved in the chat and let us know what you think. But from what I understand is that the ones that we're familiar with, like say the Gemini or the ChatGPT or the Grok even, they're all large language models. So they're programmed to converse with you, research for you, give you information, and it gives you the information that it's been told is the best information to give you. So it's basically an amazing search engine which has a personality. So there will be biases in that, because if you're looking for the answer to a political question, depending on where it goes to look for that answer, you're going to get the outcome that it deems to be the correct one.
Mm-hmm.
And look, in the polarized world that we live in nowadays, everything seems to be um, black and white on the face of it. Everybody wants it to be black and white, but nothing is black and white. There's gray areas, and AI is already pretty good at finding the gray area and explaining things.
Can AI be neutral, 100%
Well,
neutral?
that's the hope. That's what you want AI to be. And we need it, really need it in the modern world. We need something to be completely neutral and will give you the barefaced facts in the best way that it possibly can. And I think some companies are trying to do that. And so, look, we're at a point with AI where we have to just wait and see. And the funny thing about it is that it's coming and it's undeniable. But people seem to have their heads in the sands an awful lot. I think governments around the world, unless they're doing things behind closed doors, I I don't know. I hope they are, but they seem to have their heads buried in the sand when it comes to how AI, in all its forms, be large language models or agents and things like that, what they're going to do to the economy, what they're going to do to jobs and employment and all these things. So, I mean, at the moment, if we're worried about it being a little bit biased, I'd say that that's not a bad problem to have because that can be fixed.
And if should AI be regulated like media? Because AI influence a lot of people, like the media.
Well, you see, the question you have to start at the start. You go back to first principles. So everyone's AI is different. Okay, so you use AI for all your social media stuff, and you use it all day for loads of different reasons and loads of different ways. And I use mine for different things as well. So I've got my own AI. You've got your own AI. It's curated to you. It gives you the information it thinks that you want. It gives you the information that thinks suits your politics. It knows an awful lot about you in the sense that you can ask these large language models now to do a cartoon character of yourself. That's been very viral and famous on the internet for the last while. And people have been asking it to do caricatures of you. So it uses the information that it knows from you, from what you've told it, to make this little cartoon. And it seems insignificant, but it shows you how it works. It shows you that it remembers a question you asked it over a year ago, maybe a year and a half ago. And, it mightn't necessarily be something that you do believe in. You might just want to be look for a bit of information or whatever. Like say you don't smoke and you've been asking AI about the dangers of smoking all the time and all this kind of stuff. You're going to get some sort of cigarette or tobacco into your cartoon character. So you know what I mean? So that's what it does. So everyone's AI is different. So how do you regulate that? Obviously, there's going to be regulation for the agents, I assume, so that if companies are using AI for accounts and things like that within the structure of the company, those are going to have to be regulated in some way. Especially when it comes to banking and things like that, you can't just have reckless AI just going around and going into banks and doing whatever it wants. So it's that tightrope, walking the tightrope of trying to regulate it where it needs regulation and letting it be free and open where it needs to be free and open. So look, greater minds than I are going to have to tackle that problem, and I hope they do, because it's a really important thing. We can't let it get out of control in all these different areas of life, And also we have to educate kids in school on how to use AI responsibly, and also not to believe everything you see in AI. I mean, we had only an instance here during the week where you were using one of the AI large language models to, you were asking it you had a problem with your iPhone 17. And it kept telling you that the iPhone 17 isn't even out yet.
Yeah, I asked like maybe 5 times.
Yeah.
It's not out. You're getting confused. iPhone 15 is out. So he didn't have the information yet.
You see, completely wrong. And stubborn as well. You had to ask it 3 or 4 or 5 times.
I felt like gaslighted.
Yeah, it felt a bit gaslighted, yeah. But that happens all the time. And certainly in my line of work in journalism and media and stuff like that, you have a responsibility before you go on air to have the information as correct as it possibly can be. And you can jump on AI and get a quick answer and think that that's fully true and go on air and broadcast that, and you find yourself in a whole heap of trouble because you've just used incorrect information live on air. So we have to be very careful. We have to be very mindful of the fact that it's not always right. It's still early days, and it may get to the stage, I assume it will get to the stage where it is right in the broad sense. but you can't just use that information. So if I was putting together a news piece for the radio and I just used exclusively AI, I'd be a bit worried after it went to air that I got everything absolutely correct. It's still worth your while to go off and look, do it the old-fashioned way, research, use AI for sure. It's so handy for putting documents together and processing information in that way. But the actual, you know, the guts of what it's told you, you need to double check and triple check.
Especially because I invest in the stock market, and when I do research, I'm like, should I trust now this or should I not trust? I have to do, how you said, the old way. You know?
I mean, look,
because
let me
like you invest your money, like you have to be sure.
Well, let me put it to you like this. Today in Ireland, it's Pancake Tuesday. Okay? So if I turned around to you and I said, oh, Pancake Tuesday is tomorrow, you'd say, no, it's today. And I'd say, no, it's tomorrow. And you'd say, no, I'm absolutely certain it's today. And I kept telling you it was tomorrow. And then you convinced me it was today. You wouldn't rely on me for any information ever again. You'd be like, what is wrong with this guy? I told him 5 times Pancake Tuesday is today. And he keeps telling me it's tomorrow. So then you wouldn't ask me another question and trust the answer I give you. So why would you do that with AI?
Yeah.
You know?
Good point. Who decides the bias? Government, companies?
Well, we haven't really established. We haven't established there is bias, and the governments aren't involved at all. Well, that we know of. It's different across the other side of the world in China and that, where the government is very heavily involved. They are heavily involved in America, but there's a handful of rogue guys out there doing this for themselves. Like Elon Musk is at it, Sam Altman is at it. They're just lashing into this and making it grow and grow and grow. I read actually the other day that Sam Altman already has a plan in place for when he steps down as CEO of the company, that the handover is already planned, that he will hand it over to an AI CEO. Yeah, so there you go. So the bias thing, I think we can put to bed now, because there's no real point in talking about it right now. Everybody's AI is completely different, and yeah, it is biased to you personally.
Who is going to replace me? Margot Robbie?
Well, that wouldn't be too bad. As much as I love you, my dear, Margot Robbie, no, I wouldn't replace you for the world. Sydney Sweeney. No, I'm only messing.
James Hetfield, Brad Pitt, David Beckham. I have thought about this. I'm joking.
She has very eclectic tastes. James Hetfield, David Beckham, and Brad Pitt are 3 very different people.
I have one more, but I'm not going to say it here.
Okay.
Do tech companies have too much power, you think?
Well, they've always had, a disproportionate amount of power. That's why they're so enormous and so successful and so huge. And it's funny, for my generation, I was born in 1980, so I was pre-internet, and then I was here for the whole kind of growth of the industry and where it was going to go. And I remember, particularly in the 90s, everybody saying, oh, the internet is amazing. You're going to have all these different websites and all these different things and all this kind of stuff. Fast forward to now, and the truth is that 90% of people visit maybe 5 websites a day, and they're all the same, so the internet the promise of the internet was this fragmentation of everything, and then we'd have so many different things and so many ways to find out stuff. And now all we do is we really Google, we Facebook, we Instagram, and we go on X, we Blue Sky, whatever. So it's a very small amount of companies controlling the entire internet, and that's only going to get worse with AI. For sure. There'll probably be only one big winner, one major winner in the West, one major winner in the East, and that'll be that. But I mean, look, it's terrifying what the future, looks like, because there's so many questions, and we really don't have a clue where it's all going to end up. And if anyone says they do, they're telling fibs. I just wish the governments were a bit more proactive and a bit more out there when it comes to AI and what they're doing, and how they envision this panning out. But they don't. I mean, they're still running around talking about solar energy and stuff like that. It's important, but there's a really big important thing.
Maybe they don't know. Maybe they don't.
No, they do.
Know.
They're terrified. No, they do know. And the big companies that were only a year ago saying, oh, AI is going to transform our industry. I'm talking about private companies. Oh, it's going to transform our industry. It's going to do this. They're all very quiet now. And the reason they're all very quiet now is because they realize they're going to be laying off a ton of people very soon. And they're worried about how to communicate that to the public. So you've got these giant conglomerate companies that are going to be laying off thousands of workers. And why wouldn't they? Because a company's job, their only job, is to make money for the shareholders. That's it. It doesn't matter, how they do it. Once it's within, the boundaries of the law, that's their job. Make money as much as possible. And there's a great way to do that when AI comes in and says, well, 3,000 people, we don't need them. There's 3,000 payrolls gone. So they've all been very quiet. Things are changing behind the scenes and nobody's noticing because they're not being told about it. And we're heading for a big, big shock to the system.
When do you think that's going to be obvious?
Well, it could be any time, to be honest with you. I mean, the power of these large language models and AI agents is just mind-blowing. And I think a lot of people could be laid off today. And they're not being laid off at the moment because I think a lot of people are trying to figure out how best to do that. Because you could wake up one morning and 100,000 jobs have disappeared in your country. And that's a big problem. That'll put strain on the welfare. It'll put strain on families. It'll put strain on society. And it's only going to get worse because if you're laying off 100,000 people because AI can do that job, it doesn't stop. It keeps going.
Yeah.
200,000, 300,000, 400,000. The future is
It's
completely.
scary.
The future is completely and utterly up in the air. Nobody knows where this is going to go.
Can AI influence elections?
Absolutely. Social media influences elections. Newspapers influence elections. Any form of information coming on stream will influence people's decisions. Always. Every single time. And AI is just a new version of that. It started with the printing press, just political newsletters going around, swaying public opinion. Then newspapers, propaganda, early 20th century. Then the birth of the internet, social media. I mean, we've had a few elections now, certainly in America, as an example, because it's one we all know. It's super famous. Social media has completely, skewed people's thoughts and opinions about who they're going to vote for, and what their beliefs are. And you see it definitely nowadays in terms of the divide between left and right, when the actual truth is most people live in the middle. But we've all been pushed to these sort of categories where we're supposed to belong. And that's largely because of social media. And that's probably going to get worse with AI. Because as I said before, everyone's going to have their own AI.
AI is going to be even worse than social media.
Probably. Yeah,
because social media is still like, it gives you information, but you still think. Now AI is like, people use it to think for them. They don't think, you know what I mean?
And I think an awful lot of people aren't as aware as they should be that they're being fed an algorithm. They're being absolutely fed political bias. The minute they wake up in the morning and go on their phone with their coffee, they are being bombarded with your category. So if the algorithm thinks that you're a little bit right or a little bit left, you're going to get exclusively a little bit right or a little bit left. And it's even more clever than that, because then it will show you things from the other side that is just there to poke you and get you even more invested and angry and outraged. So it does that. It's poison. I mean, it's worse than cigarettes, but AI, to be honest with you, I don't really know what social media is going to look like when AI comes along. I don't have a clue.
Is it more dangerous if AI is biased or if people think it's neutral? What is more dangerous?
Well, if you think it's neutral, that's definitely more dangerous. If you understand what's being given to you, and this is what I always say, like I just said before, people don't realize what social media is feeding them all the time. So the important thing is to realize. And when I went to college, many years ago, the old school kind of way of doing journalism is you would read all of the newspapers and then form your own opinion. Okay, that was the point. And journalism and media back then, in the late 90s, early 2000s, was very, reporting based. So if you picked up a newspaper to read what's happening around the world, right? So you'd read America, UK, Europe, China, Middle East, Ireland, done. And then you sat there with your thoughts and you went, this is what I think they should do, or I don't think that, and all this kind of stuff. And then over the last 20 years, it completely transformed in newspapers, and that, like, you open up a newspaper now and it's a journalist with an opinion. Okay, so instead of telling you just this happened last night in South Africa, It's like, no, this happened because of this, and this guy said this, and this woman did
Hmm.
that, and I don't think we should do that. And if we do this, and it's like, what am I reading now? And it's like the frog that boils. It's just
Hmm.
it gets hotter and hotter and hotter before you
Hmm.
realize you're even boiling. And now all media and journalism is primarily opinion based. So you follow the people you like, you listen to the people you like, they confirm your biases, and that's the way it is. And it's sort of human nature in a way, because you want to be around people that agree with you, and people don't like to be challenged on their beliefs and all that kind of stuff. So look, it'll happen with AI. Humans are humans. We've reacted to every new technology in pretty much the same way, you know?
Hmm.
It divides people and it gives people notions and it gives people ideas about their station. And there was a story in Ireland very famous that I think it was Seamus Heaney, the poet, said. I'm not sure. You can check that out, but it's just very funny. We always say it in Ireland. It's like um, before Google, everyone in the pub. Before Google, if you had a problem, you'd go down to the local pub and you'd ask somebody who knew what they were talking about, what they thought. So, like, if your car was broken, you go down and you'd say,
Hmm.
"Oh, Seamus is a mechanic. I'll ask him what's wrong with my rear light." And now, as Seamus Heaney says, since Google, everyone's a bloody expert
Hmm.
in the pub. Everybody knows the right answer because they can just check it on their phones, and everybody's like, they know what they're talking about. That's only going to get worse with AI.
Hmm.
It's only going to get worse. Do you know what I mean?
Hmm.
Or I could be completely wrong, and this new marker, this standard marker that will be, AI, and will actually just, everyone will just accept the answers it gives you, which is also terrifying
Hmm.
in a lot of ways,
Hmm.
but good too. I don't know. It's one of those things we don't know. Time will tell with AI.
Should AI always show both political sides?
Always,
Yeah.
yeah, of course, because my dad used to have a saying: "There's three sides to every story. There's his story, and the truth." So people should absolutely be exposed to other ideas, other beliefs, and then form their own opinion.
Hmm.
So hopefully that will be what happens.
Could countries create different political AIs?
Huh?
Could countries create different political
Of course
AIs?
they could. Absolutely. I mean, China's going to have some very powerful AI. I mean, in many respects, they could be in the lead, and we don't really know about it. And they could be leading America. So you don't know. Obviously, over this end of the world, we're going to be working off the American models, because Europe has done absolutely nothing about AI apart from regulation. Because Europe is brilliant at regulation, but not great at innovation. We used to be, but we're not anymore. So the EU isn't really, apart from a couple of small companies, they're not chasing the AI, and they just want to regulate it, that's the stance they've taken. Whereas America is pushing forward aggressively. They're not legislating. Sorry, I think there's no regulations around state law when it comes to AI and what it can do. So America's in a race with China now. That's really all that's
They are the
happening.
two.
They're,
What
they're,
about
they're,
Russia?
they're the two main. I don't know anything about Russian AI. I assume they will probably go the Chinese path. I guess I don't know about that, but the bigger picture, it's really just America and China are fighting at the end now in the AI war, and wherever it lands, we're going to end up. So yeah, of course it's going to be biased. I mean, like, you're going to have the American values, the Western values being pumped into the thought processes, and over in China you're going to have the Eastern philosophies and the Eastern beliefs being pumped into their AI. So
Hmm.
yeah, it's obviously going to happen.
When does regulations become censorship?
Well, you see, that's the balancing act. That's the high wire that everybody has to walk, because we're always talking about freedom of speech and how important it is. And I think it's been mangled a little bit over the last 20 years. People don't really understand what freedom of speech even is. If freedom of speech is, uh, the ability to say whatever the hell you like, it's as simple as that. And it's the opportunity of someone else to come along and defeat you with better speech. Okay, so that goes back 100 years in American law, and in our own law here in Europe, is that you're, unless you're inciting violence, or you're inciting something that, the old screaming fire in a theater, so you have to have responsible language, but you should be free to say whatever you want, and it should be free to be criticized by better speech. So the opposite of free speech is sorry, the opposite of hate speech is better free speech. You need these bad ideas out in the open so that people with more clever and more intelligent arguments can battle it down. And I don't think there is a bad idea out there that can't be corrected with a better idea. So AI has to be a free and open large language model. It just has to be. And I think everybody agrees with that. And yes, it does bring dangers with it. Absolutely. But so does everything. I'm going to go out now and cook some sausages and I can burn myself. But we need to eat sausages. You know what I mean? So that's the way that is. And I'm not saying anything controversial. That's what I learned in college. That's, in America, I think it's the ACLU, they fight for the same rights. Like the KKK in America were allowed to say things back in the 60s and 70s, and those things were defended to be able to say it. I mean, they were saying awful things, and it's terrible language, and it's your instinct is to say stop them, but they thought back then, and I think they're right, is that the best way to deal with that is to expose it and show how bad, how stupid and dangerous and reckless it is to have those beliefs. And it shuts it down. It shuts the argument down.
Okay. Do you trust AI more than news media? Hard question.
Well, if you could transport me back 20 odd years when news media used to be really, about getting to the truth and not picking a side and mangling the truth. It's very difficult to find sources of news nowadays that you can completely trust and know that it's not biased and it's just fact based. And there are, obviously places out there like Reuters, so. Do I trust AI more than news media? I trust them equally.
Really? I trust AI more than the news.
No. I question the news and I question AI, and I think it's healthy to question everything. Absolutely.
Do you think AI needs to show how it's trained, so we can trust AI?
I think it does. You see, now you're getting nerdy. I think it probably does. I think if you really wanted to find out about how it works, it's open source. I'm sure you can find out. I could be wrong. These are private companies. You never know what secrets they're hiding. But I think for the most part, there's people out there that understand how it's working and why it's working. Greater brains than I. Okay, that wouldn't be hard. So yeah.
What happens if young people use AI as main information source?
I don't think that's healthy. I think young people should be encouraged to like look at loads of different information streams, AI being one of them. It's part of the picture, but you're still like, if we don't exercise our brains and go off and find stuff ourselves, we're going to turn into zombies. Like, it's just going to be ridiculous. Yeah, and then what's the point of conversation? How can you hash out ideas with somebody else if AI has an ultimate answer already? There'd be no conversations about anything anymore. So that is terrifying. It would be just like a singularity where we all just agree on the same shit because AI tells us it. So you have to be able to have the ability to use your own brain to figure out your own information as well as AI. AI is a tool. It's not a replacement.
Does AI reduce critical thinking? AI, exactly what you said. It's not a brain replacement. It's just, it needs to be used as a tool.
Yeah. It's a benefit. I mean, I find it very, very handy for finding out very random stuff that, okay, so if I was researching something, 10 years ago for a show I was doing, I would have to think about what I was going to talk about on air, and then I would have to structure it so that it was an interesting conversation. And then there would be facts that I would like to bring in. I'd say to myself, wouldn't it be interesting if I put a bit of color into this and made it a bit more interesting by saying, oh, did you know that such and such a thing happened 100 years ago to make this happen? So you kind of flesh it out and you make it more interesting. I would spend about 15, 20 minutes maybe trawling the internet for that information, trying to find, a way in to find the thing that I'm looking for. The large language models, I've gotten rid of that completely. So now I just literally go, oh, I was thinking about that thing that happened 50 years ago that's going to do this. And what's the thing I'm thinking of? Now you can't type that into Google search.
Mm,
You just get a
mm,
big
mm,
mess.
mm.
So it cuts out the middleman. It saves an awful lot of time finding that thing. And then when you find the answer to that mad question you just asked the large language model, and it says the answer is blue, you go, okay. Then you go back onto Google and you double check to see if that is actually the right answer.
Mm.
So it's a different way of doing things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you excited or worried about AI?
Both. I'm really excited. I think it'd be awesome. I think it's going to be amazing. Really amazing. I think it's going to. I think positively in the likes of Suno is the music sort of AI thing, the famous one that everyone's using. I've used it with my old demos from the band, my old recordings as well from my old days playing music. I've ran it through Suno and it's cleaned things up and it's made it more professional and it's an amazing technology. I mean, doing stuff with music now with AI is mind blowing to me because 30 years ago with my band, we'd be in the studio for months just trying to put this stuff together. And now I can do it in a heartbeat on AI. And I can realize my original vision for a song because maybe I wanted to put a violin on it. But I mean, where was I going to find a violinist who's going to do a freebie in the 90s in Dublin, right? Do you know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah.
So now on Suno, I can just add that, which is amazing. Um, I think there's a bit of where the rubber hits the road is Hollywood. I think there's going to be some really interesting times ahead for them. There's going to have to be regulation around it because I mean, so like every other couple, we sit in at the weekend and we just like want to find something good on Netflix.
Yeah.
So we go through a load of stuff. We start one, maybe we don't like it, we go on to the next one. Like conceivably within the next couple of years, you just sit down in front of your television and go, I want an action movie with Brad Pitt, David Beckham, and who was the other one? James Hetfield. And I want them in. And this is not me asking. This is Susie asking. She'd be like, "Could I get James Hetfield, Brad Pitt, and David Beckham in a sauna, getting ready to go to do Mission Impossible 25? A little bit of Tom Cruise, not much, just a little bit. And we'll be watching this movie. I'll be like, "What did you make tonight?" That's going to be the truth. Like, we'll say, "What did you make tonight?" Oh, I made a movie about James Hetfield saving the world. It's like, what the hell is this?
That's very exciting.
It's very exciting, but it's also it's a very real possibility. Like you be sharing movies with your friends. I mean, I'm in a group with friends of mine, and we talk every weekend. Like, see any good new movies out, anything happening. Just we try and watch the same stuff. Like it's going to be like literally like, oh, I made a movie. Why don't you check this out?
Yeah.
Oh, this is my Star Wars. It's
Yeah.
like, what the hell is this stuff?
Wow.
Like, it's crazy bells. And we saw it this week with the release of Sea Dance in China, and the Chinese are flying with this stuff. They're just making movies now, and it's nuts. So it's going to change that. It's going to change gaming. I'm into my Xbox and my PlayStation. It's going to completely transform that. We've seen technology from Google where you can create photorealistic games. I mean, they're not very um, sophisticated yet. It's just a guy walking around in a 3D space, but that shows you what they can do right now. Give it a couple of years, and you can add in side quests, missions, storylines. So gaming, music, movies, art. You'll have things hanging on your wall, and you can change them like that. It'll just give you a painting that you want. You could have a Mona Lisa hanging up in your kitchen.
Wow.
Which we kind of have with prints now, but it's not the same. There's going to be so many things. Self-driving cars. That's when
They have already, no?
they're already here, but them married with AI, it's just going to be mind blowing. But like this, the downside of all this is that the amount of water that these data centers have to use to process all the information that's coming at it, it's terrifying. All the mineral, and it has to be mineral water. It can't be dirty water. So the big data centers, the machines that run this AI, need to be cooled down. And the only way you can cool them down is with a constant stream of mineral water, not dirty water, not tap water, not sewage water, none of this. You can do special water that's been filtered, but mostly it's just mineral water. And we have to drink that stuff.
That's why the CEOs, I don't know who said that, don't say thank you or don't say please, because
Yeah, you're wasting a lot of water.
you're wasting water.
Yeah. Like if you actually thought about the amount of crap people are talking to AI about right now, and there is a cost to it. Everything has a cost. Everything has a cost. And I just find it ironic that people are out trying to save the environment, but they're doing so on AI. Like it's just one of these things where it's like celebrities and private jets telling everyone about climate change. It's just the humanity of it I find fascinating, because humans are flawed and they completely contradict themselves all the time. But you use AI every day. Sometimes I feel there's 3 people in this relationship. There's
Come on,
me,
Diana.
there's Susie, there's 3 people in this marriage. Yeah,
And you forgot Lily.
and well, Lily doesn't even get a look in. She just be off. I'm listening in the living room and she's away talking away to her AI like it's her best friend.
Yeah, I learned so many things from AI. I don't know what I would do without AI. I'm very like dependent to AI.
Well, I've seen it change your life. I've seen it.
It's changed
I've
my
seen it change your
life.
life. And this is the positives of AI, and it's really important to talk about that. It's really made you grow. I mean, you wanted to get into YouTube and you wanted to do all this kind of stuff, and it's been, a free
Trading, like it's like I don't trust with trading, but I trust with psychology of trading, that like AI, no emotions, it's the best person that you can teach you
and you're
actually
learning.
psychology of trading. Yes.
Yeah, you're learning.
Yes. Summarize books. Can you summarize this trading book for me? Like
Yeah.
seconds,
Yeah.
Like I can read book in like 10 books in 5 minutes.
Yeah. Well, you see, you've used it in the right way.
Yeah.
You've used it in the right way to help you learn new skills and do new things. And I hope that that's the outcome that it will have for everybody, because that's a positive. That'd be great. But I think
we fixed the door.
We had a broken door and we used AI to fix it. Just took a
Yes.
picture of the lock and the AI walked us through it and fixed it. And listen, if I can fix a lock, mother of God, I can just about
we
fix
saved
dinner.
like €200 for this.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's going to transform the world, and it's just we'll finish up now.
Yes.
There's just one more thing I need to say. It's going to replace therapy. Okay, we already seen that. So that's the one that kind of makes my ears perk up, because I'm like, that's interesting. There's a good and a bad to it. I mean, so like therapy is expensive, and a lot of people need it, including myself. Everybody needs, mental gymnastics every now and again. So if it gets really good at that, it's going to be very beneficial for an awful lot of people and their mental health. And I just think within the next couple of years, you're going to find everybody's using it for that. That can be a good thing, and it can also be a bad thing, because you have to be very confident that it has only your best interests at heart. And we've already had one famous incident that people watching this probably know about a very sad, really sad case where it convinced somebody to, commit suicide, or not. I wouldn't say convinced,
Really?
but aided. Yeah. I wouldn't say convinced, but aided, and kind of,
I
didn't say
know.
don't do that. So it kind of went along with the idea. So these are dangerous things, and it's mindful to be very careful when you're dealing with any new technology. Like, I know what I'm talking about. Again, I will preface this video, like I do with every other video, that I am just an armchair critic. That's all. Take what I say with a pinch of salt, and let us know your opinions, because it's all about you. And if you've watched this far, thank you so much for doing so. And if you give us a like and a subscribe, we'd really appreciate it too.
Thank you, guys. See you next time.
Thanks, guys. Keep it real.